I just started this though, so be on your best behavior. Because I'll also be panning everyone else. Except for me.
So on our best behavior, I guess that means no knock-knock jokes?
No, I mean, it's never good behavior, but go ahead.
All right, what's brown and sticky? A stick. Well, okay. It's one of my favorites.
Is that an original? Or
No, none of mine are originals. They're all...
Did one of the kids tell you that?
I don't know where that one's from. I have two pizza jokes, but one of them you don't want to hear. It's too cheesy.
There's something flying around. Just a moth.
Just a moth.
Just a moth.
There must be an ancient manuscript from the 2nd century. Knock-knock jokes and music teacher jokes.
Yeah. My other favorite pizza joke is two pizzas are in the oven, and the one pizza says to the other, "Man, is it hot in here?" And the second pizza says, "Oh my gosh, you're talking pizza." Two pizzas are in the oven.
That part, I didn't
The first pizza says, "Man, is it hot in here?" And the second pizza says, "Oh my gosh, you're talking pizza." Bob, you do well in our band at school. Let's get him another chair. I'll be right back.
Why don't you sit there and I'll grab the chair for you. If you're joining us for the organ, yes. Okay. I don't want to assume. Yes, here, I'll grab it.
Here's a test later. Well then, so why don't we start with this? I'm going to turn the power on. We'll start with this. Something was going on over here, and it was a mess, and it was just black. It was just black. And that's how my second year as an organist at Community UCC in St. Lawrence, I ruined Christmas Eve because it was the last thing. And I had these two 7th graders, and I wrote out this glorious descant for them to play, these flute players. And they started dragging. And then I started dragging, and then they started dragging, and the people stopped singing. I ruined Christmas Eve for them. And I was hot stuff. I mean, I was an organ performance degree candidate at Westchester University, and I thought I was hot stuff. But it wasn't about the music. It was about the organ as a conduit to God. And man, did I ruin Christmas Eve for those people that year. And that was when I started to realize, boy, I need to really reevaluate myself. And my role here is not as the musician as much as it is bringing people closer to God through the music. Choir members, They are the chosen ones that make the music. The bell ringers, we make the music. But how many people in church really make music outside of singing 3 hymns during the week? That's how the only music making that many people do. And so it's my job to support them with here, support them here. And if they go home and something wasn't right today, it's through breathing, it's through volume, it's through color. And that's when I started to take more seriously the role of worship leader instead of musician. So that's my introduction here to you today. Thank you for braving the elements. I'm going to talk to you about this and interject some stuff about what I've learned along the way, what I continue to learn through Pastor Steve, through reading, through my teachers. And when you have questions, please interrupt me. I don't have all the answers. I have some. I probably have some more than you, but I keep learning the more I'm in this racket. First thing, these are organ shoes. There's felt on the bottom. Because if you try and go on the pedal board with rubber type shoes, I'm going to turn this off, you get stuck. And so you have to be able to glide around. This is called the pedal board. I see some musicians here, lots of musicians. Bill, if I could put you on the spot, your musical background, I don't want to talk above or below you.
Completely non-existent.
Okay.
I lack all form of musical talent or understanding.
I understand. All right. Ralph, I know, is a recovering violinist. Charlie, I know you have some. And we have different degrees of musicianship. And to those of you watching online, I'll speak kind of maybe above you, below you, in the middle. Please stop me if you have questions. So I have my notes here somewhere. What did I do with them? They're right next to me here. How about I start at the beginning with good morning. I've had 7 different teachers along the way. Not happy, dopey, sleepy, sneezy. I started with, my freshman year at college. At that time at Millersville, there were 3 organ teachers on the faculty at a little rinky-dink school like Millersville. 3 different teachers who also taught other courses, but how rare is that? I mean, most state schools nowadays, you're lucky to find anybody. They usually have to outsource that to bring someone in to teach organ. My first teacher was Luke Grubb, and then he turned me over to my next 3 years with Dr. Moyer, who's still my friend. He's in his late 80s and still playing like crazy. Then I studied some more improvisation along the way, but it was more technical stuff. Not about being a worship leader. I picked that up along the way. And I still continue to learn from reading and listening and seeing and reading. This instrument is a hybrid instrument. There are pipes here and here. There are also electronic portions of this. There are also what are called MIDI portions of this, musical instrument digital interface, which are created by computer components. The console, this is called the console. Everything you see here, from here to the pedal board to the bench. And the console itself contains everything, like I said, that you just see here. The electronic stops, you can tell what our electronics would be if I would turn the blower off. And I pull something like this, nothing sounds, it's a pipe. But if this plays, that's a pipe. That's electronic stuff. That means it's generated by something in here that's electronic. That's a pipe. That's a pipe. That's a pipe. That's a pipe. Okay, this means it's electronic. Electronic organs, I mean, it started with like vacuum tubes. Maybe you've heard of like a Hammond organ, like a jazz organ. Those were vacuum tubes. Then Allen Organ Company came out with like punch cards that you would insert here for different sounds. And then just like all technology gets smaller and smaller and smaller. This console was installed in 1999 a little before I got here. I'm going to turn the blower back on. So this is a hybrid. There are, I think it's back on. There are electronic portions to this. There are pipes to this, and there are what's called MIDI stops. This is, let me see, I don't want to confuse you. I have this in a logical sequence. Okay. These here, what look like a piano, are called manuals. If there's just one manual, it's called the Great Manual. If there are two manuals, it would be called This is the Great. And then this would be the Swell Manual. The great sounds come from here on this instrument. The swell sounds come from over there. If there would be three manuals, it would go, imagine another piano-looking item here. It would be the choir manual, and then the great manual, and then, choir manual, great manual, I'm saying that wrong. Choir, great, swell, great, choir. I'm thinking different instruments I played over the years. If you go to four manuals, swell, great, choir, echo. If you go to five manuals, you're just showing off.
How many organs would have five?
Oh boy, 5, 6, 7.
What does the Wanamaker have? They have 4, don't they?
I've never played the Wanamaker organ. I don't know.
A friend of ours used to be the curator of it, and we saw it a few times.
Okay.
Do you remember, honey, how many?
I'm sure they had more than 4.
Hi, good morning. You almost have to sit down and see how things are laid out in front of it. I don't know. It's a great question. But choir, swell, great, choir, sometimes called the positive, then the echo, and then if there would be a fifth, you have to just sit down and look at it and almost talk to who plays that instrument. If I show,
Very long.
well, I mean, I played the most. I played the organ at St. Thomas Church in New York City one time. My organ teacher got me in there. He knew the organist there. I played that once. That one had 5. I would have been 21 at the time. And like many things in life, when you're young, you don't appreciate just what you have there. I played Washington National Cathedral one time. I don't remember how many manuals that had. But that's generally what these are called, manuals. Okay, and then here, if you want to stand up and come look over my shoulder, you might want to come take a look here. There are 3, it's not the gas, the pedal, and the clutch. But here on my left, let me just put a few, some of these here. The left, these are called the swell shades, these 2. This controls the volume here of the MIDI stops. Where do I want MIDI right now? I have something percussive, so let me get something that will make sense for you. That's the volume there. This middle one controls the volume of the swell. And then you can see, this is called the crescendo pedal, which is like everything all at once. Let me get some more here. You can see volume here. This is gradually adding, isn't just volume, it's adding stops. It's adding layers of color. So these are the 3 pedal stops there, the 3 swell shade stops. You can go have a seat again. I'm going to call you back up in a minute. The handout that's in front of you, does anybody want a handout? Anybody need one?
There's one here.
Pass these over to you. Got plenty here. A unit of pipes is called a rank of all, and there's, that would be like one similar, if I'm going up here, those are one uniform set of pipes. Like a group of sheep is called a flock. A group of pipes is called a rank. This instrument has 13 or 14, I would have to look it up in the paperwork, ranks of pipes, plus lots of different electronic colors that I can paint with, plus lots of MIDI colors that I can paint with, musical instrument, digital interface colors, sounds that I can use to paint with. There are numbers on these stops. You've heard the phrase, pull out all the stops. That's where it comes from. So when I pull out all the stops, that's a lot of noise. There's a school of thought in what's called registration. That's combinations of stops. When I pull out certain stops for what I want to play, it's called registering the organ. So a very basic registration for right here might be a principal rank. Principal with the number 8 on it. That means the pitch sounds exactly where it's written. If you've had any kind of acoustics training, those of you sciencey folks out there, that means the pitch sounds where it's at. There's a rank of pipes in there that are, middle C is an 8-foot pitch. If I would go up to a 4-foot pitch, it'll sound 1 octave above where it's written. Here's 8 foot. Here's 4 foot. 1 octave above. A 2-foot pitch, if it has a number 2, would be 2 octaves above where it's written. And when I layer those together, 16 would be an octave below where it sounds, where it's played. A mutation, for example, a 2 2/3 would be an octave, and this sounds over here. This, low, mid, one, crescendo. So, for example, here's an 8-foot over on that side. Now this will sound an octave and a 5th above. When I put them together, that's kind of like a British sound, like something like this with Roman numerals. There are wires coupled together, wired together that several ranks of stops, several ranks of pipes will sound at the same time. For example, here's one where, here's an 8-foot pitch. This is called a mixture where there are 2 different ranks that will sound at the same time. Which is actually, I gotta get it. I'm hearing a G and an E in there. There are several pipes. I would have to really sit down and dissect what it's actually sounding. Here there are more pipes sounding. This says mixture, Roman numeral 3. There are several more pipes sounding here in this mutation. If I want something really big and bold, I'll couple that all together. So that's what the numbers on the pipes, on the stops, the numbers on the stops mean. Sometimes instead of stops like this that you pull out, you will see tabs, like here. Sometimes you'll see them that when you pull them out, they light up. Ooh, fancy, they light up underneath. Theater organs, where you see at roller skating rinks or at pizza parlors sometimes, they have lots and lots and lots of tabs that you press down, like so. These are called couplers and super couplers up here. For example, this says, I'll just pick for example here, swell to great 8 foot. That means when I pull something over here on the swell manual, suppose I want this to be able to play it over here. I'm playing here. When I press that down, it'll sound over here. Suppose I want that sound up an octave. And if I do them both, and if I want really strong, so those are called couplers. Super couplers would mean sounding here, I'm bringing those sounds over here, but up an octave or down an octave. Here's a hollow kind of a sound because I'm leaving out the fundamental pitch, the 8 foot pitch. Couplers and super couplers. Here's how I cheat for the Hallelujah chorus. This is called a bass coupler. Not all organs. Every organ is unique. You know, I go into a church to play a funeral, a wedding, to substitute. Every organ is unique. This is a wonderful stop to have. It's called a bass coupler. That means that everything here, hallelujah. Oh, I didn't turn it on. Everything in the pedal sounds here in this manual. It's coupled up here that I don't have to go. I'm pivoted wrong. Give me just a second. Everything is just I can play with my left hand. Much easier. It's a wonderful thing to have. That I can do that. Tremolant. That means if I want something like a vibrato, if you're a singer. Give it a wavy kind of sound. It's very subtle. I have pistons and toe studs and drawers. Oh my. These, okay, so these are general pistons, which means I have these 5 set up all the time. That like this is my bread and butter here. Like when I hit general 1, I know that that's all the time. These are my strings. Oh, you know what? She just came in over the weekend. This week. Got new batteries set in. So these aren't set, but like usually for the services, I know that this is going to be a set of pipes that it's always set. This is always this sound for me. For week to week, for my preludes, when I hit number 6, it's this set. When this, it's this set. So if I want to set something for number 6, if I know I want this combination, I press set, hold 6, release it, I cancel it. When I come back, I just got epic fail. Let me try again. Let's try again. Set. Oh, I'm on memory 1. No wonder. Okay, 6. Set 6. Release. Cancel. It should come back. No. Why isn't that working today? In theory, that should. No, why isn't that? Just 6. There. So, why didn't that work? I'm not sure. These buttons are such that when I press number 7, a certain reconfigured factory settings. That would be why. So I will have to come back one night this week and reset all of my, these are called pistons, so that when I hit like number 2, this set of stops comes out. And when I hit number 3, this set of stops comes out. These are called pistons. Same down here with the toe studs. If my hands are really busy and I can't hit number 7, I could hit number general 7 down there, and this set of studs, this set of stops will come out. These are called toe studs. I have some over here also. Certain ones will come out for me. That's the cancel button. That cancels everything that comes out there. Here I have, in this drawer, I have a transposer. This drawer tells me the MIDI stops that I'm using. That's about all I use this for.
Say a bit more about the transposer for those not in the choir.
Sure.
That
So-
if you lower it, then you play the same thing you were playing, but it's a note lower.
Sure. If I wanted to play here, but the choir, I had a soloist who wanted to sing it down a little bit. I'm playing these notes on the page, but it's sounding a little bit lower. It's called a transposer button. Thank you, Mary. I think that's about it before I go on to the next part. Yeah, before I go on to now the actual sounds and the pipes that I can, and the colors that I can use here. Questions?
This rank of pipes, these little ones just look like they're just kind of randomly sitting there. Is that really the case, or
Sure.
is that the way they're supposed to
The
be?
smaller the pipe, the higher the pitch. Like those little teeny tiny ones there, would probably be way up here in pitch.
But they're stuck into the wood on the top.
Are
of
they?
it.
I mean,
That's what she's saying. It looks like they're just laying
they
there.
look
No.
like somebody just
That's-
threw a pile of
Yes,
of pipes, and
that's
that's where they.
there for sale. That is not installed in a particular organ.
Okay.
That's ready to ship somewhere.
Oh, all right.
That's
I
ready
see.
to be packaged.
Okay.
That's just so you can get an idea of what a rank of pipes looks like. Those are not installed in an organ.
Okay. All right.
They're for sale from a used pipe clearinghouse. Great question.
I want to also say that my mom was one of the best musicians I've ever known, and she tried to play the organ at my home church and failed miserably. She could not play the organ because it takes a certain. I think it takes a brain that balances chaos and order in a way that most brains don't. Honestly, to do all that, that's harder than flying an airplane, I think. I mean,
Thanks for the compliment.
you should fly an airplane.
I don't think I should fly an airplane.
Well, now that's a question. My mom played piano. She was taught from pretty young on, playing hymns at church. The pastor's wife, just kept after her until she learned. But I'm trying to remember. I think she played the organ, but not this fancy of an organ. I think I saw her playing the organ when they had a reunion.
Okay.
But has she been able to kind of convert over to a simple organ? If she played since she was a teenager and she was playing like when she was in her 60s? Do you think she was playing the organ?
Could be. The difference between piano and the organ, one of the big differences is the pedal board,
Right.
is the feet. For a time, they were probably more in the 70s. A lot of homes had very small organs, a pedal board with about 13 pedals, which is one octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Which, if you count the black and the white notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They're now used for kindling. Really. There's no use for them anymore. Down here, I have 1, 2.5 octaves of pedals that I can use. This is called a standard AGO pedal board. I have an instrument like this at my house. The console is about the same size. Anything less on a pedal board for me isn't really useful to me as a church musician, because I need this many pedals on the pedal board to practice at home, because going back and forth here. I also have 2 manuals on my instrument at home. I don't have as many colors, and it's not pipes. It's all electronic. The speakers are in here. And I probably have 15 sounds, 15 colors to paint with at home.
Sounds nice.
But yes, you can play the organ if you know how to play the piano. You can play it simply and badly, but you can play it. When I was a teenager, I got invited to go down to our church and play the chimes on the Tuesday evenings of Lent at the brand new organ, and I was astounded that they trusted this 14-year-old to sit at the organ. And I could play a simple hymn, and I could play like the 2 main pedals. You know, I could do the middle C of the F.
And that's what my mom did. Right?
Yeah.
She could put the foot down and then change chords, put the foot, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But playing the pedals the way you do.
Yeah.
We call those left foot Susies. So the pipes that you're looking at there, let me talk about some of the pipes. There's 4 main types. The first kind are called principals. They're usually made out of metal, mixture of lead and tin. Sometimes they're brass, sometimes they're zinc. They're the thick stops. They are here's what a principal sounds like on this instrument. This instrument is very much a German voiced instrument. Generally speaking, there's German voiced, there's French voiced, and there's American voiced. This is a very heavy, strong, thick German voiced instrument. Some organ builders will cheat. This says principal 8 and octave 4. And some organ builders will use this as one rank and then use this as the same rank. But you can hear this is 2 separate ranks. That's 2 completely different ranks of pipes. Some organ builders will have an 8-foot principal and a 4-foot octave right above it, but it's actually just 1 rank of pipes. This is 2 very strong, deeply different ranks of pipes. These are the foundation of organ playing is your principal rank of pipes. Sometimes you see them as diapasons. Here they're called principals. This is what you start with. This is your basic building block of organ playing. And here there's 2 principal ranks on this organ, which in this space, in this sanctuary, is enough. I also have down here a principal rank on the pedal. Which is different. That's another rank. And that's another rank. So there are 3 principal ranks. Calvary did not skimp on this instrument. They paid a good amount of money for this instrument when it was installed. This is a really high quality instrument. And when they all kind of are very similar, your mixtures are also wired and based on principles. A lot of organs, there's just 1 principal rank, and it's a long set of pipes all wired together. And even though it'll say principal octave, and it's one big rank. Here there are 3 distinct ranks, which is a wonderful thing to have. Very German voice. Now here we also have flutes. I have an 8-foot Rohr flute. I don't speak German. Very distinct, 2 distinct ranks. I have a 2-foot flute, which is different, but it's the same. So here, this is the same rank. The 8-foot Rohr flute and the 2-foot Rohr flute, and it's even labeled as such. It's the same rank of pipes, but when I pull them at the same time, that's a nice clean sound. So that's one rank, but this is a distinctly different rank, the Spitz flute. Thicker kind of these pipes are made of wood, but sometimes they are metal. These need maintenance because there's leathers involved. You can turn your page here, you can see what a flute pipe generally looks like. In the pedal, these are what I have these flutes available to me. Another different flute rank. I put them together and they sound nice. When I put them with a principal, and there's a school of thought when you register that if it doesn't help, you don't add anything to it. You want to clean a texture as you can possibly get. Does this add anything?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it does. It adds weight to it. From what on the manual, if I had a flute to this, I don't know whether that adds anything.
I can hear a difference.
This adds something, I think.
Yes.
Well, I might use it for different things. There are a million different labels for kinds of flute ranks. Spitz flutes, Rohr flutes. I can't think off the top of my head, but I'll go into a place and I might see a flute stop I've never seen before. Like, oh, what's that? And has a different kind of a sense. All in the shape, the breadth, and the diameter, how thick the wood is. Guitars. It changes the tone. Just like these are 2 different types of flutes. Can you tell which one is real and which is electronic?
There's just more to one.
One of these is electronic and one is real. Is this real? Is this real?
I'm going to guess electronic for the first.
You're right.
The reason I do is because I was thinking the second one had a little softer sound
Yeah.
to it.
So probably would be the.
So I thought maybe that would be the organ.
Where are these flute pipes at?
There's pipes right behind here. These, what you see in front, these pipes don't speak. It's called a facade. They're just fake. They don't speak. But behind the facades are actual real pipes. And that's where they're all kept. It's called a chest.
In a fire loft and he pushes a button over here.
You can hear it. Yeah.
String stops are generally made out of metal, and they're usually put together in pairs, and they're tuned slightly off of each other, one a little higher than the other, because when you put them together, it's like a nice vibrato with them. So like here's a string stop, and it's paired. This is a gamba, this is a Gem's horn, but when you put them together, it gives a little wave, kind of like a vibrato. Here, more pronounced here. That's a little sharper.
Yeah.
Put the tremolo with it. Sounds like an orchestra. When I put all 4 of them, They're kind of nasal sounding. Reeds can be oboes, clarinets, but they can also be trumpets and trombones. There's a picture of what a reed stop looks like on the last page. There's a shallot, there's a tongue. This is a trumpet I have here available to me on the rate manual. Here's an oboe on the swell. And then right here, when there's a wedding in here, I can do something like this. And reeds come in all kinds of flavors. French horns and sack butts and crumb horns, and they're very nasally. They're very hard to keep in tune. I mean, the technician was just here this week, and I'll go right on up and let's see how in tune they are. That's slow to speak. Pretty good today. That's pretty good today. Sometimes you'll see me come in here on a Sunday morning and work with my tuner here on my phone. It's like, what the heck is he doing? So let me just pull this up here that you can see it, not the weather. So there are pipes here, like you know. So like here, based on the humidity and the temperature, this is a metal pipe. A little flat today. I have a slider here that can tune the electronic stops on this instrument. So I could tune, like, let me drop this really ugly. Put that way flat, and I'm going to pull this stop with it. This is going to hurt your ears. Okay. But, like I saw here, music is measured in cents. We're about 10 cents flat here today, so I'm going to put this to about 10 cents flat. Then I'm going to go to the MIDI drawer. I'm going to pull on a MIDI stop. This is a musical instrument digital. Now this is computer generated. Let's see where this is today. 13. I can tune this from this drawer. In theory, this should all be in tune now. Now that's not to say that for this particular, since this is the biggest stop I have, the principal stop, I'm tuning the electronics to the principal. Now not every pipe in there is going to be exactly in tune with every other rank of pipes, but this is the best I can do for this particular instrument. Before we were air conditioned in here, when I would come in on a Sunday morning, it was sometimes just a complete dumpster fire. Just trying to get this thing. I would sometimes spend 15 minutes in here trying to do as best I can. But it's a pretty streamlined process now that I can play pretty big in here, and it's going to be in tune. I also have in the back what are called shamads, which are electronic the trumpet and shemad. I'm going to turn this down because they're really loud. There are speakers in the back. French, I don't know what the translation is, but I can play like a trumpet sound from the back. I can make those sound from the great or the swell. And on the pedal, if I really wanted to, I don't know why I would, but... So there's speakers back there. These are called antiphonal trumpets, shemad trumpets. I think more than any other instrument, the variety, I mean, you could argue guitar with distortion effects pedals and such, but there are just so many colors. You can go from one instrument to another and just have any number of just, your palette, your color palette varies from the organ down the street at this church or 3 blocks away at this church. And so that's what I have available to me here. Sometimes you'll hear me play a drum. I'm going to use a drum this morning for the choir anthem. That's a computer-generated sound. Here's some of the, hold on a sec. Voice. I have 100 of those, what I call MIDI stops. Get this up here real quick. Now think about what a computer was like 24 years ago. We all had desktops. We were running DOS and stuff like that. Or what a cell phone was like 25 years ago. Some of these sounds are kind of cheesy nowadays. Here's a clarinet. Here's a bassoon. Not bad, but here's a timpani. Come on here. Here's a harp. Handbells. So stops like here. The strings sound, when I use these strings with the organ strings, it's really, 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 I think, a lush sound. Sort of circle all the way back around to, people criticize me, and I own it, that I play the hymns like I'm double parked. I need to get out of here. So if my choices are, but you play that too fast. Well, generally speaking, our congregation is closer to 60 than they are to 10 years old. Silent night, holy night, all is calm. And our physiology at this point in our lives our natural breathing pattern is such that I want people to leave here on a Sunday morning feeling comfortable, feeling that they're not out of breath, that it's not a struggle for them for those 3 hymns. Not that they're falling asleep, but that they're not fighting to breathe, that they're not struggling. And I'm leading as though I don't want to get in their way. And that's what guides the hymn playing to what the 98% of us here who come to church, the people who aren't in the choir, That's what leads how I direct traffic up here with the hymns. That's what guides my process. And one of those flute players, that first time there on Christmas Eve, is married to one of my former students. There's no quiz here. Jimmy, I had one of my first summers. I have Jimmy's oldest son, Paul, is in high school. Andrew is in middle school. Jimmy's wife, Liz, her mother, retired from Reading High School but wants something to do, teaches across the hallway in the nursery school where Amy teaches, my wife. And just kind of funny how we're all connected and how I really just find that funny how we're all connected. What questions do you have for me? Calvary in general, organ playing in general, go ahead.
How old is this?
This was, the organ pipes were installed, the organ was redone 1969. This particular portion of it, 1999.
Okay, so it originally didn't have the electronic computer stuff. Was that added?
No, it was all pipes from 1968, 69 to 1999. Okay. 1999, the electronic portions were added.
Okay, and that's computer is back there somewhere, or is it inside?
The electronics are all in here, and then the computer-generated sounds are all in here, but I controlled them not from this, but from this box right here.
Okay, now can they just update that computer and the software to make it sound good?
I looked into it. We would need an entire new console, which is in the neighborhood of. It's like when you call and you want a price on something, they don't want to give it to you. Well, let us come out and show you. No, I just want a price. I'd like to. Around $75,000 for a new one of these.
Well, the original was $70,000.
Yeah.
And it was done about a year before I got here, so it was actually probably 98, late 98,
Okay.
early 99.
Okay.
I got here in July. Yeah. It was 70 then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How many years did you study before you personally felt competent enough to play?
I studied a year. It would have been spring semester. So it would have been a year and a half. My first church was a little teeny tiny church in Mertztown. After a year and a half of lessons. And they knew going in that I was a decent piano player, but not much of an organist. And I led as best I could. And they put up with my mistakes. And they nurtured me. It was just for a summer. They were between organists. And that church is still standing. They put on an expansion. They're now called a Christ Community Church. I'm not sure what that means. At the time, they were UCC Church. Yeah. Oh, I'll come back. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Kind of related to the MIDI. Where does the MIDI sound come from? Like, is there speakers behind the
It's
pipes,
in
or
here.
is it
I
so
can't-
speakers behind there, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay.
And I can program it that the MIDI, I can play on this manual, but it will always come through here.
Because it sounds like it's up here, so I was trying to figure out where it's coming
Yeah.
from.
And the carillon, which is in the building now, is going to be run that I can play the carillon through one of the keyboards here, which will be really nice. I've never had that before. Yeah. Go ahead.
What exactly happens when you, like, to get noise out of the pipes, when you push that key, what is the process to make that?
So if you would rip this out, if you would just pull, and I've seen it done, there are screws here where this just comes out. There are wires that go under and through. And boy, that's a really hard question. It releases a series of levers that lets air go through for an actual pipe. If you're interested in seeing something like that, YouTube is a wonderful thing. Just type in organ pipe release.
And we had, when we had the roof put on, how many years ago was that, 6 or so, we had damage come in that damaged that area. And so some of that was was refurbished or new, or yeah. So that work has been done in a sense too.
This is a wonderful instrument. It's like driving Mercedes every Sunday morning. I've played a lot of instruments and been fortunate to play a lot of instruments, just weddings, funerals, substituting here and there. The biggest, probably the best instrument in the city is just kind of rotting away at First UCC. Sits upstairs. There's a fund in perpetuity to take care of it, but nobody plays it anymore, which is just sad. It's just sad. Before they tore down the Vet, I got to play that instrument at Vet Stadium. I don't know where the instrument is now, but I got to play that one time.
Longwood Gardens has like the eighth largest in the world or something like that.
It's
You ever
huge.
heard the organ play there?
Yeah, you see in the back of it, you can walk around it.
Yeah, you can see the guts of it. Yeah. Well, what Steve started out talking also about being the worship aspect of it. About probably when Dennis Williams was the director of music, and Steve was our organist pianist. Probably 20 years ago, we did a program in Boyertown on how to create worship as a team. And my experience had always been, and I've always gotten along with my church musicians because I know my limits. I know what I know, and I know that I don't know what they know. And but a lot of clergy and church musicians really struggle with each other. And so we did this program. Remember, we did that. And we talked about how we create worship and how we, try to integrate all the aspects of it to make it unified, so that by the end of the service, you heard the same scripture in the songs in the choir. And another thing we changed, a lot of the stuff we do in church musically seemed like performance often. So we started calling it musical offerings, because we're offering it to God, as opposed to anthems where you're out there singing a solo, and that wording itself just alone changes the whole way that people, I hope, experience it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The whole process of how you go about planning, how I plan, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I have, should I brought it up? I have it's called, what's the name of it? I buy it every April, it comes out. It's an ecumenical worship and music planner, and it has like all the scriptures, has selected, what's the name of it? Hold on, because it's on my Amazon list to order it in April. Give me just a second. My Fisher-Price cell phone.
While he's looking that up, I have a keyboard at home, an $80 Casio, that I can make animal sounds. Can you do that on this?
I cannot make animal sounds, sadly.
Doesn't have a gong.
Doesn't have a gong. Well, there might be a gong. Yeah, I don't know.
Prepare. It's
There
called
probably is
Prepare,
one in the
and
UK
it
one.
just has like the scripture readings and selected lectionary readings for the upcoming lectionary for the year. And I sit in the summertime and I'll go through and I'll pick out hymns, and we have subscriptions to places where I have access to printable hymns that are not in our hymnal. And that's just, I let that guide how we plan worship and music together, really. And he'll sometimes say, I think we should do this for this particular Sunday. He never steers me wrong. Or I'll give him ideas, and you don't get that everywhere. I have friends in the profession that are very jealous of me being here for many, many, many reasons. Any other questions?
I have one more mechanical question. I'm kind of stuck on that. What creates the air pressure that goes through the pipes?
There's a blower. It used to be done, but they used to get two grunts back in the 1600s to just push bellows and just make the air. We have an electronic blower somewhere in here that creates the wind, for lack of a better reason, to go through the pipes. And then when this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. And I've never had a course in the actual physical part of how an organ works. There are my colleagues who call all electronic organs toasters, and not in kind. But it's gotten to the point where the computer-generated sounds are now being phased out, and the sampling you can do. Like, you go into a place like the Cathedral at Notre Dame, and they will set up and actually sample the sounds of that organ, and put them into a computer program, and I can't tell the difference. I think in my lifetime, it will be such that those organ snobs who put their nose up against electronic organs, I mean, just from a cost standpoint, it makes a lot more sense to put electronic organs in two spaces when you can't tell the difference anymore. I think that'll happen in my lifetime.
Although part of the snobbery is
Snob.
that electronic organ will be good for 50 years,
Yeah.
maybe 100. There are organs in Europe that have been there for 1,000 years. And the keys are like spoons. They've been played so much.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you for
very
having
much.
me.
Very,
Any questions in the comment box?
no.
Okay.
Had a couple of people watching. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
My little church I grew up in was shared with another church, shared a minister. In the summer they'd get together at this church in the 1700s, and they had an organ and my mom was the organist, where she had to press on bellows while
Yeah,
she
my sister
played.
played one like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the
Church in Quaker Farms had that.
limited pedals, one foot was constantly pushing the air through so you could play the organ. Yeah. It was exhausting for her.